Isn't fruit juice concentrate and agave nectar supposed to be healthy? How about cocoa butter and things like brine, mono, and diglycerides? No idea what these words on a food labels mean? No worries. Today we will tackle all of these mysterious ingredients that the food industry doesn't want you to know about. We will discuss how they impact your health and why you should be on the lookout when doing your grocery shopping. So let's start our discussion with sugar, which is frequently hidden in foods under various fancy names without you either realizing it or, what's even worse, mistakenly thought by some as being healthy sugars. The first thing you need to understand is that when you notice any of the terms that I will cover in this section listed among the first few ingredients on a food label, it's a clear sign that the product is primarily made out of sugar, given that the ingredients on a food label are listed in descending order of their quantity in the food. So let's start with barley malt, malt syrup, or rice syrup. All of them are just different names for sugar, and all of which will raise your blood sugar level. But which one of them will spike your sugar the most, since the main difference is primarily in the source of food that is used to derive these sweeteners from, such as barley, malted grains, or rice. If you guessed rice syrup, which is often used as a sweetener in organic and health foods and considered natural sweetener used in granola bars, cereals, and some baked goods, you got it right. Rice syrup is the worst one of these when it comes to rapid sugar spikes. That's because rice syrup contains high glucose content, which is rapidly metabolized, something that is not good for anybody who needs to control their blood sugar. Now, evaporated cane juice may sound healthier, but is it? It's often referred to as evaporated cane juice or unrefined sugar. You'll frequently hear people saying that because it undergoes less processing than regular white sugar, it is supposedly good for you. The proponents also argue that it is healthier because it contains important minerals like iron, calcium, and potassium. Well, unfortunately, in reality, it's just another sugar, and that's exactly how your body will treat it. The amount of trace minerals that it contains is so small that it's not even worth mentioning. Some people also think that agave nectar, because it is marketed as natural, is a good healthy sweetener, much better than white sugar. Folks, nothing could be further from the truth. The biggest problem with agave nectar is that it is super high in fructose. The content of fructose is often much higher than that of high fructose corn syrup, which is one of the worst sugars you can eat and which we will discuss in just a bit. Now, the exact fructose content in agave nectar can vary depending on the brand and processing, but in general it's somewhere around 70 to 90%. That's huge, folks. Now, you may say that it has pretty low glycemic index due to its high fructose content, but given the detrimental effect that intake of fructose has on our health, I don't think that it's worth messing with. Now, when you look at the food ingredient list, you will most frequently see words like dextrose, fructose, and glucose. All of these are nothing else but different words saying the same thing: sugar. But which one of these sugars is the worst for your health? Let's look at them individually. Dextrose is quickly absorbed into the bloodstream and is used by our cells for energy. It has a high glycemic index, which means that it can cause a rapid spikes in blood sugar levels. So what about glucose? While glucose isn't as sweet as table sugar or fructose, which is another sugar that we will discuss next, it still provides a sweet taste. The main problem with glucose is that it also causes very rapid blood sugar spikes after you digest it, similarly to dextrose. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance and associated diabetes. Fructose, as mentioned earlier, is also sugar, but unlike glucose and dextrose, fructose is metabolized primarily in the liver. For this reason, fructose does not cause a quick rise in blood sugar or insulin levels like glucose and dextrose do, but it causes a lot more health issues. You will frequently encounter fructose in the form of high fructose corn syrup, which is used primarily to sweeten sodas and most processed foods. High fructose intake can lead to buildup of fat in the liver, a condition known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. Fructose also contributes to insulin resistance and promotes the storage of visceral fat, the fat that engulfs your organs and leads to various metabolic diseases such as diabetes. Lastly, fructose also has been shown to increase the level of particular fat in your blood called triglycerides. Now let's talk about maltose. Maltose is a type of sugar derived from malted foods or food fermented by yeast. In your body, maltose is broken into regular sugar and the body treats it in the same way, which means that it also raises blood sugar, but compared to glucose, maltose has a slightly lower glycemic index than pure glucose and will not raise the blood sugar as rapidly. Lactose, on the other hand, is a sugar that is naturally found in milk and causes milk intolerance in certain individuals who are not able to break down lactose. Another word that you frequently see on a label is sucrose, which is nothing else but your old-fashioned table sugar derived from sugarcane and sugar beets. So from the above-mentioned sugars, high fructose corn syrup is definitely the worst one. But the bottom line is that you never want to eat any form of sugar for its vitamin, mineral, or other promoted nutritious value. Always treat it as just another sugar. The same goes for fruit juice concentrate, which is used as a sweetener in many processed foods. Sugar is sugar, and trust me if I tell you that even eating too much natural fresh fruit can be bad because fresh fruit contains fructose. I had a patient once who could not understand why all of a sudden he developed prediabetes. After doing detailed recall, it turned out that he was eating a bowl of fresh fruit every day for dinner, thinking it was healthy. His blood sugar went back to normal once he stopped doing it and ate only 1 to 2 pieces of fresh fruits a day. Let's switch gears and talk about fats. If you see the words partially hydrogenated oils on a food label, it means that the food contains trans fatty acids, which are worse for your health than naturally occurring fats. Now, frequently you will also see word shortening. These fats are made from partially hydrogenated vegetable oils and also contain trans fatty acids. Lecithin, which you will commonly encounter on food labels, is a fatty substance used in food as a food emulsifier to mix oil and water-based ingredients. It's naturally found in many foods including eggs, soybeans, and sunflower seeds. So when you see lecithin listed as an ingredient on a food label, it's typically derived from one of these sources. As a food ingredient, it is generally considered safe. Mono and diglycerides are essentially fats that fulfill the same role as lecithin, but the concern is that they may contain trans fatty acids, and for vegans, it's not always clear if they are derived from animal or plant sources. So what about things like palm oil, coconut oil, and cocoa butter? Are they healthy, more natural fats? While it's true that they are more natural, keep in mind that all of them are high in saturated fats, which raise cholesterol much more than presence of cholesterol in food itself. So you still need to be careful about how much of these you consume, let alone the fact that like any other forms of fat, they are high in calories and will add pounds to you if you are not careful. Lastly, let's talk about salt. Most people are familiar with MSG, monosodium glutamate, which is what makes many processed food taste so good, because it serves as a flavor enhancer. It's commonly added to Chinese foods, canned vegetables, soups, and processed meats. Now, most people are familiar with the adverse reactions that many people experience, such as headaches, muscle tightness, heart fluttering, tiredness and weakness, flushing, and so on. But what about autolyzed yeast or hydrolyzed yeast? These are derived from yeast that has been broken down into its individual components and used to provide meaty taste to foods without actually adding any meat or artificial flavors. You will commonly find them in products like soups, broths, sauces, snack food, and vegetarian products. What is bad about them is that they are also frequently sources of MSG, which the manufacturer does not have to disclose on a food label if the amount of MSG per serving is below a certain government threshold. So if the product says no MSG, but you see among the ingredients autolyzed yeast or hydrolyzed yeast, you can almost bet that there is MSG. Disodium phosphate is frequently used in processed cheeses as an emulsifying salt to help maintain the smooth, uniform texture of the cheese and prevent the separation of fats and protein. What you should know is that besides the fact that it can contain MSG, eating too much food containing disodium phosphate may elevate the level of phosphorus in your body, which may increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. This is particularly important for individuals with chronic kidney disease, who must monitor their phosphorus intake since phosphorus is harmful to the kidneys. So what about if you see the words brine or cured? Are they bad for you? So the word brine in a nutshell tells you that the product has been soaked in salt water, which is a traditional method of food preservation that has been used for centuries. While brining can improve the taste and texture of foods, it also increases their salt content, which is not good if you need to keep your salt intake low because of high blood pressure. Now, curing, on the other hand, involves treating the foods with salt, sugar, nitrates, or nitrites to preserve them and extend their shelf life. Commonly cured foods include ham, bacon, salami, and some fish. The purpose is to get the salt to draw out the moisture from the food and make the environment in the food less hospitable for bacteria. As with brining, cured foods tend to be very high in salt, which can contribute to blood pressure and other health issues. The case gets a lot worse with nitrates and nitrites, which have been linked to an increased risk of certain types of cancers when consumed in large amounts over time. This is made worse during cooking, like with ham, bacon, or salami, especially cooking at high temperatures, when the nitrates and nitrites can form nitrosamines, some of which are carcinogenic. So what about sodium alginate and sodium ascorbate? These are also forms of salts used in processed foods. Sodium alginate is derived from brown seaweed and is used in the food industry as a thickener, stabilizer, and emulsifier. It's often found in ice cream, jellies, and dressings. Sodium ascorbate, on the other hand, is a salt of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, and is used in the food industry as an antioxidant and preservative. It helps to maintain the color and flavor of food by preventing oxidation. Both of them are considered generally safe, but are forms of salt, so keep it in mind. So here you have it. If you found this video helpful, please let me know by clicking the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. I'll see you in our next video.